begin with the roll call. Scott Self, I'm here. Michael York. Here. Richard Lane, not here. Brandon Self, not going to be here. Victoria Ames. Here. Mark Scalera. Here. Jane Johnson. Here. Christine Reynolds. Here. Stacy Goodell. Here. And Selectman's Rep. Mark. Look at that right there. Okay. So I will seat, I will seat Kristen for Richard Lane and Jane for Brandon. The agenda tonight is we have the approval of the minutes for May 22nd, 2025. Under public hearings, we have PB 25-008. That's a subdivision. Paquin Land Surveying has submitted a two-lot subdivision application on behalf of Michael Wilson for property located at 999 Old Homestead Highway and shown at tax map 240 lot 80. The subject property is in the residence district. Second is a site plan review. That's Planning Board 25-009. Fieldstone Land Consultants has submitted a site plan review application on behalf of the Town of Swanzey for construction of a 6,400 square foot fire station. Subject property is located at tax map 219 lot 36 in the business district. And under discussions and other business, we have new tenant and multi-tenant application discussion. And adjournment. So bringing us up to the top. We have the approval of the minutes, so we'll do just a review impact before that.
Move that there is no additional impact.
Motion by Michael York that there is nothing on our agenda that requires us to notify surrounding towns. That's seconded by Mark. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, and that's done. So now the minutes for May 22nd, 2025. Nice job on the minutes, by the way. Anybody have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Motion by Mark to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Victoria. Is there any further discussion and changes? Yeah. Then all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? And the minutes are approved. That brings us down to our public hearings. The first one of the evening would be the subdivision, and that is the Planning Board 25-008, the subdivision. Who's here for that?
I'm Jeff Paquin, representative for Michael and Tracy Wilson.
All right, if you would go over the checklist with us, and so that we may deem the application complete or not complete, and then we'll move on to public hearing.
Okay. I may not. I have a copy. I may not.
Want a copy? Yeah, here.
There's an extra one over here. All right. So you just want me to go line by line?
Yeah, because we have to deem it whether it's complete or not, when we go to public hearing.
Okay, so the proposed name is in the title, all right. The name and address of the owner is on the plan itself, kind of in the middle of the sheet. The scale is actually 1 inch equals 30, both written in the title and also a graphic scale. North arrow is just under the graphic scale, top left of the page. My seal and stamp, top left. The boundary survey, including boundaries, distances, and location of permanent markers, those are all shown on the plan, and I just finished setting the last lot order that's shown as to be set. There are no elevations for existing water sewer mains. There is a little bit of drainage in at the intersection of Swanzey Lake Road that I've shown there. Number 9, existing and proposed easements, rights of way, buildings, water courses, ponds, standing water, rock ledges, stone walls, and other essential site features. Those are all shown on the plan. There is an easement, a site easement for map 240 lot 81 to the north that crosses a portion of the locust parcel. Then there are also 4 easement notes on the bottom right of the page. Number 10, location of property line, including the entire undivided lot, lot areas, and frontage, public right-of-way. Those are indicated on the plan here. Existing area, and then proposed lot 80-1, proposed lot 80-2 with the areas. And I don't have the frontage specifically labeled, but you can just add it up. 124 and 106 is roughly 230 and change. And then over here, you've got 59, 132, 103.5, which far exceeds the requirements. The tax map and lot number, number 11, according to the Town of Swanzey numbering system. As far as I know, that's proposed lot 80. The existing lot is 80, and it should be 80-1 and 80-2. The existing and proposed topographic contours, I've got 1 inch equals 1 foot, just because it's such a flat site. Location of groundwater, not exactly sure what that means, but I do have the wetlands on there, and I also have Martin Brook shown, and in the test pit log, which was provided, there is the depth to the seasonal high water table, which in this case was actual water, standing water. Like I said, the perk tests and test results, those were submitted separately in the test pit log. Soil mapping type, slopes, and boundaries. In the legend, it's Agawam fine sandy loam, and I think it's Naumburg loamy fine sand. Deed restrictions. There were deed restrictions when this was subdivided in 1999, but those expired in 2019. There was a 20-year restriction.
It can expire, I didn't know that, really. Yeah, it was said in the deed that it was for 20 years.
Yes. Yeah, it gave me a little bit of heartburn.
Yeah.
Open space to be preserved doesn't apply. Existing buildings and other man-made structures, those are all on there. All the improvements are shown. Existing and proposed streets with class names and right-of-way widths. So on the plan itself, I've got the names, got the widths. Survey notes 2 and 3 describe the right-of-way width. Number 20 doesn't apply. Final road profiles and cross-sections. Number 21, drainage and erosion control plans. Again, doesn't apply at this time. Number 22, state subdivision and parentheses septic approval. That's pending. I'm waiting for tonight's meeting, and then I'll submit those after this meeting for both the septic and the subdivision. Those are ready to go. Number 23, I've already obtained a DOT permit for Swanzey Lake Road, since that's under their jurisdiction. There's an existing permit for the existing structure on lot 80. And I believe that's it.
That's it, thank you. Any questions from the board about the completeness of the application? Then a motion that the application is complete and we can continue on to public hearing if we can order. Motion by Michael York that the application is complete and ready for public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
I think Jane second. Second by Jane. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Good. So we're going around to the public hearing. Now we'll open up the public hearing right now and make your presentation.
So the idea here is that there's an existing 3.53 acre lot. And Mike and Tracy Wilson want to subdivide a portion, and ultimately their daughter will be building a home on there. The proposed lot 80-1 is going to have 1.65 acres of contiguous upland, and proposed lot 2 is pretty much exactly 1 acre contiguous upland. There's a little bit on the backside here that's not contiguous. But up front here, the reason for the configuration is such that it does accommodate 1 acre of contiguous homes. And the shoreland does come into play. I spoke to Craig from, who was one of the reviewers there about that, because there was some questions related to Mark Brook that I had, and backwater. So he answered those, and otherwise it's pretty cut and dry. The wells are able to be on the lot. There's a small septic envelope here that doesn't really fit the septic system in, or the leach field. It needs to be a small leach field for it to go.
Okay. Pretty straightforward. Are there any questions from the board?
It's not serious, but I'm just, because I'm a neighbor, I'm wondering
Sure.
about the easements. I don't understand the language, and I just wonder what those mean.
Okay, which one in particular?
Well, could you just explain the 15 feet wide sightline easement benefiting lot 240,
Yep.
81?
So when this subdivision was done in 1999 by DiBernardo, there were several, I think there were 3 permits obtained from New Hampshire DOT, and DOT requires 400 feet of site distance. And so because of that, the Wilsons couldn't actually landscape that area if it would impede site distance from their driveway.
And then the well and water line with their rights affected?
Number 2?
Yeah, and then the water rights and all that.
Okay, yeah,
Because
that's
that sounds
Swansea
very
as well.
historical and, something that we should maybe be very.
Yeah, it is archaic.
Yeah.
And there's an old dug well over here on, I believe, lot 81. I'm not certain if it was 163. I think it's 81.
Is that Carrie?
I can't remember for certain. And I don't remember if it's Ivy or if it's Jackson.
There's a cistern that's a little bit further up from those two.
And the Wilsons have a right, it was retained by the prior subdivider to access that. The
Okay.
reality of using it,
Sure.
and the same goes for lot 159, they also have the right to utilize that system.
Okay.
And so it will affect this lot moving forward, the proposed lot.
Because theoretically, the lines could run through that lot. You're saying, 'cause there's an
Correct.
easement. Yeah. Okay.
And then there's another historic easement where this parcel had the right to drain their sewer line into the South Ashwood branch and go across the highway. The reality of that happening is impossible, but it still exists from a title standpoint.
Good to know. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Anybody from the public have any questions on this? If there are no more questions, then I'll close the public hearing. More questions? Okay, then the public hearing is closed. Pretty straightforward, as he had said. See exactly what they're doing there. Meets all the requirements.
Residential, they have 1 acre, with lot on
Yeah, pretty well.
Look forward.
Okay, motion by Mark to approve the subdivision. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Victoria. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Is this too close for everyone, or is this all right?
That's kind of what we're doing.
We're gonna talk to you for us.
I'm all right with it.
Run down the checklist for us. and-
Sure. So, for the record, John Newman with Fieldstone Land Consultants, here on behalf of the Town of Swanzey. So the site plan submitted for site plan approval for the firehouse. Walking down the checklist. First one, we have name and address of the owner. So it's on each sheet with the name and owner. Then on site plan, it's on the lower right-hand corner and in the notes. For each sheet, the plan set has it on the lower right-hand corner, name of owner. Second block, tax map and lot number, also on the right-hand corner. North arrow, written and graphic scale. So north arrow here, written and graphic scale here, 1 inch equals 30. Name and address of the plat preparer, so Fieldstone Land Consultants here. We also have on the existing conditions, so the existing survey was done by Huntley Surveying and Design. And their name is on the title block as well, in the lower right-hand corner. Vicinity sketch, so in the upper right-hand corner, we have the locus here. Also on the cover, there's a locus. Name and address of the abutting landowners. So we have our address here, and then on the existing conditions plan shows the existing abutters and name and addresses here. And we also submitted the abutters list. Physical features of the and uses of the land within 200 feet of the site. So again, it's kind of split between our site plan showing within 200 feet of the site that's proposed, and then the existing conditions split into two drawings here showing the existing house, outline buildings, patio, driveway, and then the abutting land and buildings within 200 feet. There's not a lot of buildings within 200 feet of the site. Physical features, so showing all the pavement of the 32 is here along the bottom of the page, and then outlying buildings, wetlands along this southern portion. Perimeter boundary lines and lot area in square feet and acres. So it's shown both on the survey plan where we have the lot acreage. So the boundary is shown here. This is the 32 boundary here, and there's a second page for the survey. Showing the back portion of the lot. Total acreage is 4.305 acres. 187,000 square feet, 515 square feet. It's also on the table from Huntley and on the table from on our site. Size, the shape, size, height, location, and use of existing structures on the site and those that are proposed. So existing is the existing home, driveway, and then proposed features are on the proposed site. Showing the feature of the 6,400 square foot building, parking lot on each side, and then each sheet breaking out our utilities. Location, name, width of any existing proposed roads on the property, so there are no roads, but there are curb cuts proposed for the parking lot and for the entrance into the garage bays and the secondary parking lot. So, no road. Location and number of parking and loading spaces. So parking spaces labeled here, there's a number for in the row, how many spaces are in the row. Then we have a table calculation up here on note 1 on how we came up with the number of parking spaces available on the site. The landscape plan, so we have a full sheet for landscaping. We have a plan set. So we show landscaping along 32 and around the building. Location, type, and nature of all existing and proposed lighting. So again, we submitted a lighting plan. So they're going to be wall pack LEDs, full cutoff, where everything shines down. So these are showing where they're going to be located on the building, the type of light, and the photometric outline of the lighting. proposed lighting, there's some on the house, but the house is being kept for this portion of this. Natural features such as water bodies, ledge outcropping, wetlands. So as mentioned on our survey plan and the overall site plan, there's a wetland following the southern boundary line here. So there's drainage that's in Route 32 and crosses a wetland over here, kind of creates this swale that runs down towards the airport. Existing and proposed grades and topographic contours at 5-foot intervals. So on both the survey, it shows the existing contours, and then we have a grading plan, sheet GR1, that shows both the existing contours and the lighter dashed lines, and then the proposed contours and the heavier solid lines here. Surface drainage patterns, so we're showing where our proposed drainage goes, and then we have arrows as to the grade, where it pitches, grade patterns. Location, the size and accurate location of all existing proposed water mains, culverts, fire hydrants, and fire ponds. So on our utility sheet, we have both the existing, how we're tying the existing into existing water and sewer along Route 32, and we're proposing fire hydrant. There is no fire hydrant in 32 here, so we're proposing a fire hydrant and showing where our utilities are there, and I'll go into further detail. Means of providing water supply, so again, where the water main was extended down Route 32, we're tapping off of that to provide both domestic and fire lines to the building. Number 19, surface drainage patterns. So again, on the grading sheet, we show where our proposed grades are, where the existing grades are, and that's the drainage patterns on the site. So ultimately, it's draining from Route 32 down to there. Copy of certification by a licensed septic designer of the existing system is sufficient for the existing proposed use. That's technically not applicable, but we're showing how sewage is handled, so we're tying into sewer, no septic. Number 21, location and type of proposed sewage disposal system. So as mentioned on that utility 1 sheet, we're showing our sewage tie-in. So our sewer line comes right here in the front, ties in at Route 32 here. Location of existing and proposed on-site well showing a 75-foot well radius. So we have the existing on the existing conditions by Huntley, and then our water supply, we're not using a well, we're tying into the extended water main. That's on Route 32. Soil survey data from Chester County soil data. So on our existing conditions. Submitted test pit data as well. And note with on our proposed plans what our soils are. So our drainage is based on the soils that were done out here. Don't see on the existing conditions though. Location of any existing and proposed easements, deed restrictions, and or covenants. There's a note that, as far as we know, based on the survey that was done by Huntley, there is no restrictions or deed easements or restrictions on the property. And then architectural plans. So we had submitted a full architectural plan set for those, but 17 sheets. There's floor plans, elevations, designed by KCS Architects.
Okay, thank you. So for the record, let it be noted that James Tempesta is now the selectman's rep, and Mark Lavelle is. So, completeness of the application? Yes, no?
I'll make the motion that
Okay, motion by Mark that the application is complete and ready to go forward to public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah, I think we're just waiting to jump in there. Seconded by Kristen. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, application is complete. complete and ready to go to public hearing, and I will open up the public hearing right now, so you may proceed.
Thank you. So as mentioned, Route 32, Old Homestead Highway is here on the right-hand side of the page. So we're right next to the few apartment buildings that are here. I think everyone's pretty aware of where the location is on Route 32. There's been a sign out there for years. The town's worked hard to get this approved. We're working with the town for moving forward for construction of the fire department. So we're showing a 6,400 square foot building here, 2 parking lots. So parking lot over here used more for smaller vehicles, and then the garage bays being this northern entrance coming off, so directed to the overhead bay doors that are here, and then a side parking lot here for additional overflow parking. It required 13 parking spaces based on the regulations. We have 36 parking spaces. Seeing that it's a public building, people when they're doing training, or if they do a breakfast or a fundraiser type thing, they have enough parking for overflow for any of those events. And anyone knows there's always restricted parking at firehouses for the training purposes and public use. So basically we have curb sidewalk on this side coming to the main part of the building, and then on this side having a sidewalk curved along the parking here, front bay doors. So overall it's a site plan. There's a wetland down here. We're not impacting the wetland. As I walk through on the checklist, we have Huntley surveyed and designed in the existing conditions. So there's an existing home, which will be raised as part of this project with fire safety. So the road here, grading and drainage. So between the north and south parking lots, we kind of broke to run through a treatment swale to the north here, bringing this parking lot, everything draining down to this end, coming down, treated, and then into an infiltration basin, and to the south, basically the mirror of how it's done on the north, running down treatment swale, and running from here, down the swale to the back, and then to the infiltration basin. So taking advantage of the nice Swansea sandy soils that are down here by the river. Utility plan. So as mentioned in the utility plan, we have water was extended down basically to right in front of this site here. So we're going to branch off with a domestic water line coming around the back of the building here, fire line, and then sanitary sewer tying in on Route 32. So we're going to have sewer coming out. As part of the sewer, there's a trench drain interior of the garage base. So that trench drain comes down, comes outside, and into a water quality tank. So that water quality tank is outside, so that's an oil water separator. And then that is tied into the municipal sewer. Interior of the building, there's a tank that's a holding tank. So that's if they're rinsing gear off after going to a fire, they rinse it off. That water directly goes to the tank. So that's here in the front. And then in the rear of the building, we have a generator and buried propane tank for the generator and for heating of the building. That's overall for utilities. Next sheet is lighting and landscaping. So we provided trees along the Route 32 front here. So we have some between each side of the driveway, we have shrubs, and then shrubs up along the front of the building here along the sidewalk, with this being more of the formal entrance landscaping here. And then the lighting is shown, as mentioned, it's wall packed, so LED full cutoff light fixtures, so these are mounted 9 feet above the doorways, and then above each garage door bay on each end of the building. There are no pole mounted lights. That's overall on that. And then we provided construction details. And then for architecturals, we have the plans here from KCS Architects. annex here, so kind of a barn style. You know, these would be the garage bays and for the fire trucks to be parked on this side, more of the formal entrance coming off of that parking lot to the south. Floor plan, so we have the garage bays, we break up the offices, restrooms, office in the front, multi-purpose room, storage towards the back, and lockers in the showers and restrooms up front, where our trench drain runs through here, and then also they have that contank that's out to the front that would come through from the restrooms. Floor plans. So this is the building without the trees blocking the front view. This is the north view of the building. So this will be looking at the other end here. This would be the rear portion of the building towards the airport, and this would be the southern entrance. So as you're driving, or you heading north, that would be the south entrance, and solar panels, future solar panels shown on that south facing roof line. Foundation plan and framing, and breakout of framing. So that's overall what architectural plans from KCS. And we're happy to answer any questions on the site plan. As far as approvals, we've submitted it as a regular application to the board, and then we're waiting for, we've already submitted to the FAA, so this is right next to the airport, so we're waiting on FAA approval. That was submitted a few weeks ago, and we're gonna have to have a DOT permit, so that's gonna be mailed out tomorrow to District 4 DOT for the two curb cuts on the 32. There's plenty of site distance to the north and south, so we don't foresee any issue with it.
There are 2 curb cuts there anyway, right? So, yeah, it should be a problem
Correct.
with DOT. So could you go to the utility plan?
Yes.
So one question I have is why is the water, the 6-inch main water coming up alongside the building, going into, it looks like a 22 and a half, or 45, 22 and a half, and then another 45 in the back of the building coming in that way? It looks awful expensive. The reason I ask is we're trying to save costs and keep this as low as possible, and the conceptual drawing had the water main coming right in the front of the
Yeah,
building.
straight, yeah. Yeah, we revised this based on town comment for water and sewer, where they're gonna have the fire riser in the back here. So they wanted the fire to come around, the water line to come around the back, to come into the riser in the back of the building. That was the only reason for splitting between coming, we previously had it straight.
And the riser couldn't have been put in the front then?
Well, the garage doors are all in the front here, so it's located in the back, kind of out of the way. So you'll have the fire riser coming up out of the ground, and your backflow preventer, so it takes a decent footprint.
It does, yeah. There's a utility room right in the front there where the electrical room is there. That's the utility type electrical room right in that area there. I think that's where it was proposed to come in before, with the riser in there. But that was my question as to what it was. And if you can't put the riser there, you have to put it out back, then you have to put it out back. It just seems to me that it's more expensive to run it that way than to put a riser in the front.
Yeah, we revised this based on the last comments from the water and sewer.
So the 1-inch water main will come off of that in the back, then is that how you're doing that? The 1-inch domestic water is not gonna be a separate line for the 1-inch domestic, or you have a different one for 1-inch domestic?
No, it'll
They'll
come off of
main,
that,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that'll
And then the extension down here that's shown is for just the hydrant that's gonna be out.
yeah, that'll be cross blocker dead end right there.
Right. And off of the main, so the main is ductile iron. The T for the hydrant is ductile iron, however, the rest of the piping is the C900 plastic that reduces cost.
Still have like thrust blocks in there, I think you had those drawings there, but those fittings.
We would still have thrust blocks there regardless of the pipe.
So is the telephone gonna be underground as well? The other utilities are underground, right? Electrical, I just didn't see where the telephone was.
Yeah, so telephone will run with with the underground electric that we have shown here. So it'll all be run in the same trench.
And were you able to utilize the existing 6-inch tap off on the sewer line, or you have to put a different one? I see you have a 6-inch T going in, or a Y, or maybe it's a Y going in the sewer line?
Right. Yeah, that's down, further down, and I believe than where the,
Do you show and you see in the existing conditions where the original one was? So if you don't use the original one, that definitely has to be capped off, seriously
Right.
capped off.
I believe the house was on septic.
It was, usually there was a 6-inch outlet, and get down to a 4-inch to the domestic.
Yeah, so the survey by Huntley just does not have a stuff showing over there.
So if you can't utilize that existing 6-inch one there, definitely gotta make sure you locate it. And
I would assume the stub is capped.
I don't know if any of the house is gone, I think now. I don't know what they did with that line. It would have been 4-inch up to the house. I don't know if they got that or not, but coming down close to that, it should be capped off somewhere in there.
Okay, we'll make note of that.
Did we also talk about drainage or something in front of all the doors?
There was,
Thinking about something else for that.
originally there was a linear drain in front of the garage doors outside to take that sheeting off of the
We're a
roof.
little concerned with the ice buildup there.
Yeah, so it's interior. There's a trench drain interior of the building, not a trench drain outside of the building, no.
But the one on the outside of the building he's talking about was for the sheeting action, the water coming off of that front main roof, right in front of the doors there, so it wouldn't build up for ice or something.
Right, we pitched everything away from there, so now it kind of comes down. There's a culvert here at the road, so we're just draining away from the building completely. Not having a trench drain to worry about.
Feel comfortable with that then? Because, yeah, it'd be more of an expense to put that drain in there because it originally was taken off and brought back to that little trench back in here, so you don't have that anymore, so that's
Right.
expensive to cut off of there.
Yeah.
So it should be fine. You got a 1% slope on it anyway.
Correct, it's 1% across here, and 1% across the.
Yeah. Questions?
Yeah, just treatment of the lot in entirety, so the gray area here, that's gonna be paved, right?
Correct.
Okay, and then, I mean, right now, it's a good sandy, Swansea,
Very good material, yeah.
fair and material,
Yeah.
but it's, stony bogey, really dry, so what's the rest, the background of the lot, how's that gonna be treated?
Yeah, so it'll be loam and seed over this, so it'll be a grass finish.
Okay, should we
Low
show
lawn.
that on the plan? I mean, is it indicated?
Yep, so we call out loam and seed.
Must be in the note, but I mean, it's somewhere.
Yeah, I'll say it's like plan too. Yep.
Oh, covered with loam and seed, okay, it's important for the entire rear
Yeah,
area.
disturbed areas to be finished with loam and seed,
Okay.
so,
So
it'll
the
basically be lawn.
And the other thing brought up, I think, and I might have read it in someplace too, about a fence between the residential use and the commercial or fire station use. It'd be on that northerly property line right there.
So, we don't have a fence, you're talking on
I'm
here.
talking that line there.
Yeah, we don't have a fence.
I know that the town doesn't have to abide by the site plan regulations, but under the zoning and site plan regulations, it does require a fence.
It's a
Are you
residential.
raising your hand back there, Adam?
No,
Oh, you're stretching, okay, it's trying to get my attention, I thought. But normally that's required separate between the two uses.
What would that cost me?
I have no idea.
Could be fairly high to run, I mean, those two buildings run.
Very much lower. The buildings next to it are much lower, right?
Right.
It drops right off there.
It would drop.
So their fence would be pretty,
Their fence would be higher.
yeah, over there with us.
Yeah, higher than that, drop off that much.
It would. Clearly.
Well, something to consider.
But it is something. along there with houses.
Yeah, you're probably talking 300 feet of fencing.
So it would
To
be-
go from this all the way to the back of that
Yeah,
building.
I don't think
You're talking 350 feet.
But you wouldn't, if you did put it in, you wouldn't have to go back that far, because the building is way up close.
Maybe
Just do it on this portion. We could, yeah,
To the back edge of the building, right?
Somewhere in
this
that-
building or this building.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
And so this is a fence is required.
It's because it's a residential use, it's gotta be some, it doesn't have to be a fence.
Because there's a resident on the other side.
Yeah, but it can be trees, shrubbery, or some kind of a buffer there.
What would be better, or the most expensive trees or plants? Probably $10,000.
That's a lot. That's,
Not the most.
Pull some trees out around Wilson Pond and put them over there.
You pull my fence out. I get it, Bill. You want to take Dixon here?
Hey, do we know now at this stage of the game, is the footprint over that little well? Do we know that yet? No, we don't know that.
we would know it now. The
Can
existing,
we see that?
the existing well, he's looking to see where that is in relation to where the building is now.
That could be important, no?
It's because of utilizing that water.
For the
It
foundation.
would be back behind the proposed building. Yeah, so the existing well was right here.
Okay,
Is the builder not sitting on it?
doesn't look like it's going to.
No, we don't have it shown on it, but it'd be back like over here.
Yeah, area, in that area, so
In
it'd
this
still
area
be,
would be the well, somewhere around that end of that parking lot.
still be able to access that well. I think what Jimmy's getting at is that
Has it back underneath the well.
you've got a well there, a nice well there, probably a lot of water out there in that field anyway, to utilize for things that,
Irrigation.
any of that type of stuff, because, you know, you gotta pay for the water. It's coming from North Swansea Water Precinct over there, you gotta pay for it, and if you got a well in the ground, you can wash the vehicles and that type of stuff without paying for that water. And you have to also pay a sewer fee as well. The amount of water that you use in that building, whether it goes into the sewer system or not, you gotta pay that sewer fee. So, it'd be nice to utilize that at some point in the future. I don't know about filling tankers, but, depending on what water's in that well.
You never know, that could make a ton of water.
How much is in there?
So I know some water districts don't allow blue water sources on the same property. I don't know if that's the case with North Swansea Water.
I've never heard that it does or not, but it's existing, so.
No, we're talking about that.
You're gonna spend money to decommission it, we'd have to filter it in.
Pump it well.
We'd
Yeah,
spend
you would
money,
have to-
just, you're gonna spend money to decommission it, fill it,
Yeah.
You can probably.
and you gotta fill it. All it takes is dropping a pump in there and put power to it, so you don't go up.
Yeah,
It's crazy to waste.
it is.
Except that you have to bury the line, right? So if you have a well there, you want it to serve the building, it might be nice to put in the trench now, only digging up the dirt, you know what I mean, to get the line open.
Yeah, could do that, depending on what it's used for, it might just have one outside spigot, that's it.
Just
You know,
across the street.
not necessarily putting domestic water to the building, this is just water to use for washing vehicles, so there's a lot of water used for.
Maybe we feed a line or something.
Yeah. And if we don't have to pay the sewer fees for that water, or we can't pay for water on top of that, good idea, and it's there, you don't have to dig it. So, something to keep in mind. Other questions?
In doing that, so I don't know what precinct it is, but certainly backdoor prevention devices becomes a big issue with the town.
But this well wouldn't be tied into that system,
It wouldn't
it'd
be.
be completely separate. Yeah, it wouldn't be tied into the
I
device.
only noticed that I don't do this.
Yeah, off the municipal line, you'd have to have it back.
You would, right, but no, you're not gonna connect those together, that doesn't make
So
sense.
even if you don't connect, there's a chance that
If the pipes are there, yeah, you have to have a pipe connecting the other one to have a backflow preventer in there in the first place. So if they aren't connected, then you don't need a backflow connector. I mean, no backflow in there. If the well is back there and so there's no state coming out of it, just be used again for like washing vehicles or something like that. What else do we have here? Anything else? It's pretty well, as you can see, it's pretty well contained right there. That's as far out as it because they're down.
Yeah, so they're full downcast lights. So these lines are showing as far out as that light casts off of that light, so they're a wall mounted light.
It's kind of like what was done at FWS.
Is it Paquin Land
Except for this is
Surveying?
big low plates,
Building
side
mounted
doors,
lights.
all the other ones are,
Yeah. Right.
Their original concept, we had pole mounted lights on each one, but just as kind of get cost down. Just the building mounted lights.
Doesn't look like it's like that far. Any questions from the public on this? Do you have any questions?
I don't have a question, but we did, if I remember correctly, in one of our meetings that we've had about that well,
Yep.
is that in order to keep using that well, I think Joe mentioned that they have to test it. By the time you do all the testing and all that, we spent quite a bit of money, and it wasn't, they didn't know if it was worth it.
We're testing for water quality. How much do you think that's gonna cost?
I think it's big, I'm not really treating it very
It's
well.
not gonna be potable water.
But
It's
I'm
gonna,
just telling you that we could talk, it was quite, had nothing to do with my discussion, 'cause I don't know anything about it. But, it was for how long it's been sitting there, not being used, and they don't know the condition of it, and it wasn't as easy as just flipping the switch, I guess is my point.
yes,
It
and
really
I mean, I don't know what it takes,
It
I don't
really
know.
doesn't matter how long it sits there, you can chlorinate that well, and you
Well,
can,
could be.
rust
I'm
in
just-
it, but.
I'm just giving you, I'm just telling you the conversations that we've had in our.
Oh, I'm just answering, I'm just giving you what I know on the other side of it, that's all. I wasn't calling.
We'll say whatever.
Testing water isn't that expensive money. I test water all the time, I mean, it's minimal money, we're talking hundreds of dollars. We're not gonna test for things that are gonna hurt people. I mean, this is gonna, for washing trucks, it ain't even going into the household, or into the building, am I right, Scott?
no, it shouldn't hook to that potable system because that's coming from
Exactly.
the water district. Yeah, it just should be for utility use.
I think it's crazy to waste an asset like that on water, free water all the time.
Could be, I have no idea. I'm just telling you what was said.
Well, it is from a cost perspective where I'm looking at it anyway, because it does take a fair amount of water to wash those trucks. And again, we get a double whammy. We have to pay for the water and we have to pay for treating it, even though it doesn't go in the sewer system. So, over the years, saves some bucks.
You'll clearly get your test money back.
Well, we could make that as a recommendation, and we could make a recommendation that some sort of fence or shrubbery be implemented on that north side.
Part of the condition.
Mainly it's a recommendation, because the town doesn't have to apply by the zoning. It's correct. Like a courtesy, like the school comes in here for a courtesy, so we get approval with recommendation. Bill, yeah.
Before you go too far, the architect, the land use consultant, Joe DeRusso, and Eric all acknowledged that because of the location of the building, the well has to be capped. It can't be used. And the discussion with regard to testing and all had more to do with water pressure, nothing to do with quality, and then replacing the pump. But when they got on site, they determined that the well was just in the wrong place. We all went there, or they all went there with the expectation that it could be used.
What is the reason behind it, Bill?
The wrong place.
The building is on it.
We're looking at it right here.
The way it was staked out, the building it was gonna compromise the well.
Oh, we're gonna cover the well?
Yeah,
Oh.
because
Hey, it was in an office, right?
we
So
talked.
if that's the case, then, yeah, probably will have to be, but if that's not the case, it still makes sense to utilize that. Not going to cover by the building.
I thought we should have wasn't coming out.
The desire was to use the well.
Yep.
It was disappointing for them to learn that it couldn't.
That is disappointing, but, if that's where it's gonna be, would like to where it's gonna be, find out where that goes.
Yeah.
Make that the outside office.
Right there.
It's located right here.
Does it show it there?
We can verify that again, but if they had looked at a bill and they said it was within that footprint,
If it could be used, it would be used.
this is conditions 20 scale.
It looks like 95 feet from the property line right there, just straight out from the property line.
How about to the side?
Just get up first, there's the property line. That's 80, looks like, no, less than 80, looks like 65 to that line right there. So if the well is right there, then that's different. So let's just verification.
It's under the building, nothing you can do.
So,
You know this, Mike?
I don't remember exactly, but I just knew we had.
Oh, okay, yeah, we did.
I was in the room when they were talking about it,
Yeah.
and there was a reason why they were.
You know, when I was looking at the old plans here, what the house was there, and I'm like, wow, that house never did, this is the old, the building that was there, that we tore down. What was that, a house there?
Yes. Everyone expressed their disappointment.
We're gonna give the building a 10 by 10 courtyard.
It's right at the very edge of that building. It's right at the corner. It's real close. It ends up right there. Right at the very edge of the building.
Yeah.
The spigot when you were just going fast, Scott. You put a spigot right on it, Scott.
If it's gonna
We
be,
don't want to give it up,
do
Scott.
you see where? I don't think
Is it really that close?
It's gonna be right there, right at the very edge of the building, pretty much, within probably about 5 feet, but still, if you're within 5 feet, you've got footage down there. You gotta dig up, so it's just too close.
We tried, Scott.
Definitely. Okay.
Circulation within the parking area, this stripe, this hatched area, is that
It's just striping, it's the same elevation, and it just to allow if they have all trucks going out at once or coming in and out, just to give them more room.
okay.
But, yeah, the
yeah,
fire
it's
trucks
just
can come in here and make these turns,
Yeah.
but it just gives them extra width.
So why did you give it a different kind of area?
It'll be striped just like a handicapped space. So this is a parking island that's not raised, it's just striped, so it's just paint stripes on the pavement itself.
So don't put your vehicle there, is what that means.
Correct,
That-
like a fire.
Okay.
And the hydrants right here.
And so I'm just, this is sort of conflicting uses in here, because you've got people wanting to get in here, stow their vehicle, and then you've got other vehicles coming out. So you can get so if everybody's parked outside, for example, while the equipment is parked outside, you can
Mhm.
still easily get around and into.
Yeah, regular vehicle.
I'm sure you guys have talked that over.
I would think this would be restricted to the fire department.
Yeah, we have way more than we need for parking spaces, but we try to maximize what we
These
could.
would
Just
probably be the ones you want to grab, I mean, if you were,
idea-
a volunteer fireman, where would you want to park your vehicle? You want to be
You're in a
here.
hurry.
The idea was, firefighters park there, and then.
As convenient as
Public
possible.
parks here.
Reserve public.
Yeah, that's the public one there,
Door.
and that's the firefighter one.
They were just going to the office, they would park here.
If I wanted to burn, park over here, right?
Right.
Yep.
Not that. Just have to go to the state.
Any other questions or recommendations or any of that? This plan, it's a pretty good plan. Yeah, that's pretty good. When can you start? Tomorrow.
I'll make a motion that we recommend the fence on the north end, and then I'll recommend the approval with that one recommendation.
Yeah, okay. Motion by Michael York for approval with the recommendation of some sort of a fence or blockage between the fire station and the residential use. And seconded by Mark. Is there any further discussion?
Could you mind repeating that for me?
Oh, let me back up a bit, because I didn't close the public hearing yet. I'll close the public hearing first. Okay, now, you can remake your motion. Okay.
I'll make a motion that we accept the plan with the recommendation of a fence on the north end.
Okay, motion by Michael York is to approve the site plan with recommendation that there be a fence on the northerly property line, separate the firehouse from the residential use.
Should we specify an approximate length that fence in the motion?
Probably not, because they can tell us.
It's just a recommendation.
Right, and it's seconded by Mark. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you. Great, thank you.
Get this thing built.
Yes.
We're going in to start right now, right?
In appreciation of the motion, it would be helpful to get some guidance with regard to the expectation for the fence, if it's something that we can do. I agree with you, it's a recommendation.
Yep.
But obviously there's interest in it, so if we're talking 100 feet, are we talking the entire property line? What's the thought process?
Okay, it would
Not
not be,
mention the length of
it
the
would not be the entire
residential.
property line. It would be,
That's the firehouse.
That makes sense to match up to that first complex drawing. That kind of is that allowed, because that's what we're trying to do, is screen that use.
220 feet.
Probably 4 foot, 4 foot chain link fence.
It's supposed to be a, right, it's supposed to be a privacy fence, so it'd probably be like a 6-foot fence. If you got a privacy fence there, or it could be, plantings, could be trees or bushes, something like that. As far as the, to survive, right? So just something like a 6-inch fence.
When you consider planting, are you talking about bushes that touch each other? Or could you put a, like, oak tree and an oak tree and an oak tree? What does that mean?
So you're trying to create a privacy
Yeah.
buffer, so you're.
So you would, if you do it plant-wise, it has to be non-see-through?
It's probably,
For that kind of a buffer, you're separating them.
Yeah.
Or it can be an existing buffer. If there was an existing buffer there, that could be used as well. But in this case, there's nothing there, right? So it kind of has to be a fence.
No, I meant if you went with plants, like, if you just put a row of trees there, would that consider like privacy?
You could put a row of trees there, but you have to stagger them, which they've done before, so that you can't see.
Oh, that's trees.
If you put trees in, you gotta use like a 2 caliber one, because you can't replant big trees.
But it's usually something like evergreens, arborvitae, that type of thing.
But once it's short, you know what, in that area, they have to be short evergreens too, they can't be too tall.
I can tell you, that fence, those buildings, I think, are so low. When you put that fence, you're not gonna see even the rooftops of that.
Maybe not.
No, it's not, right? Because I think you're, when you're standing over there looking at the rooftops.
Right, well, but the zoning says it's supposed to have that.
So there it is,
People come to, we've got to call them, so.
And to make it clear, the recommendation was for a 220-foot fence line, fence on the northern end of that property, and probably a 6-foot fence, solid fence, 6 foot high, yeah. Yeah, something, because cars are gonna be pulling in there and they're shining right towards the window or something like that, you know, kind of, that's the line. Yeah.
that's good. Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, the fence isn't gonna stop the sidewalk.
No, it's just gonna,
No. to our next item, which is discussions on new tenant and multi-tenant application discussion. And in our packet on the very last page, we have an example of the new tenant application and revised, and the new tenant application, page 2, Town of Swanzey revised. And as you remember at our last meeting, we decided to get rid of the multi-tenant. We had already done our multi-tenant. The multi-tenant part of approval for the planning board. One reason that is because the planning board only has jurisdiction on site plans and can only approve site plans and nothing else. And we have been approving multi-tenant and new tenant applications all along, but we really don't have the authority to do that. But we can have it so that, as Adam stated last time, or last meeting, that the applicant can just come in and talk to the land use department, and they can advise them whether they think the planning board would require a site plan or not, and they can be on the next agenda for the planning board to make the decision as to whether they need to come in here or not. And if they don't, then he can just sign it or give them the approval without signature or whatever it happens to be. There's no signature block on there, I don't think, anyway. So
There is.
there's just an approval check mark.
Approval check.
Yeah.
Yeah, approval check mark.
So can either that or can we have a signature block or, and,
Yes.
somebody can sign it.
Yeah. So I have a signature block. This is a kind of interim form. I don't like the layout of it. It's repurposing our current form to fit our current needs. So, I mean, once you guys, I'll add a signature block, and if you guys want anything else on this form, I will put it on their own website, so people can start using it soon.
Yeah, well, we voted at our last meeting to eliminate and to start this process using this new form anyway, so the next ones that come in, you'll be using, this form right here.
That form right there.
You're fine with that form?
I'm fine with it for now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's utilizing the old format that I would love,
Yeah.
but it requires a bigger overhaul that we can talk about.
Okay.
maybe later.
But for now, you'll just,
Yep,
Use that
right
in the beginning.
on the last, the back of the very back of the packet actually, right next to the bottom date, I'll add a signature line.
Yep.
And that should be it.
okay, yeah, good, that's perfect.
So if you guys like that, I can get that rolling on the website tomorrow.
Yeah.
Fine.
Excellent.
So there was one question that came up, I attended the Economic Development Advisory Committee meeting, and they were wondering about the deliveries and their pickups. They were wondering why that was actually on there. What's the significance of that?
It's for the overall traffic in and out of the property, basically is what it's for. If somebody's gonna get, 10 deliveries a day, as opposed to somebody getting 1 delivery a week, the planning board takes that into consideration, depending on where it is, where the property is and what it's around.
I still wonder how much that matters. I'm not
Yeah.
supporting one way or the other. You can have 5 deliveries to your house every day.
Yeah.
I just wasn't really sure. Certainly if it's, big trucks coming in, I think that's more impactful than whatever. But I think we would probably be able to determine that based on the business.
If they said they had to have 10 big trucks a day, 1 per hour, that would probably alert us that we needed to do something,
Yeah,
right?
I think it would.
Unless there was a multi-tenant that had that previously,
Oh,
then we wouldn't.
I
Then
guess you're
then
right,
he'd
if
sign
it
it and be done.
had done it before, yeah, okay.
I was just wondering, nobody asked me while I was sitting there, which was good because I didn't really have a good answer. That was 2 days ago.
God, I apologize, but I don't think I was involved in this kid. Just so I understand this right,
You weren't
so
here.
what you're trying to say is that, so if we had a store, say, in the owner, so this, somebody else is coming in, you're saying it's the same business, so they don't have to come to us?
Yeah, why come for a site plan when it's the same type of
And
business?
in the
Even
past,
very
we
similar.
were doing that?
We were doing it in the past, yeah.
Okay, so now, who makes that decision? Adam, that it's the same business?
The planning board, Adam advises them, but the planning board still gets the final say at their next meeting. It doesn't have to be a whole notice all the
Oh, I
others and all that type of thing. You come in a regular meeting, the planning board says, yeah, you do have to come in, then the notification goes out and they come in.
Got it. very easy.
Other than that, you can decide. Yeah.
Streamline it, yeah.
Yeah.
I just wasn't, again, I wanna make sure I was clear on what we're looking for.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've ever had a lawyer agree with me fully, so I think we're doing it right.
If it wasn't for lawyers, we wouldn't need lawyers.
Cordell never disagrees with me without any reservations, and this is the first time I got it.
Like insurance.
You must be doing something right.
Yeah.
All right, that looks great.
All right, I'll get it rolling tomorrow on the website. And I am starting the process of not like a reimagining, but I'm redoing some of our applications to make them more uniform and flow better, easier to read as part of the process. Working with Kathy over at EDAC, trying to make it easier for businesses to complete applications in Swansea. And there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of confusion, trying to eliminate a lot of that confusion. And some of that confusion stems from our applications being kind of tough to read. They're using a format from like 1999 or something. I just want to bring them into the modern age. It's not going to change a whole lot of the content, but when I do that, I will bring it before the board so you guys can look at it before anything goes live and you guys will get the final say on what that all looks like.
Right.
So that's coming on the horizon,
Okay.
probably in a few months, I'd say, but just trying to make it easier for businesses to come in and do this work.
Yeah, great. I'm all for that.
With fresh books, might that be a good time to increase the fees?
Oh, maybe. That's gonna take a bit more work, actually. I haven't, it's audit week right now. I wanna get Teresa in here to really discuss that, because I think she can provide some valuable insight. It's a good idea, and I still wanna explore that, because that ties into our impact fee discussion, so, soon.
So Swansea so desirable, people need to pay.
People need to pay.
The other person for numbers, I would talk to Steve Biddle will come in and talk with us also.
Oh, that could be good.
Nobody knows numbers like Steve does, unfortunately. I mean, he just dazzles me sometimes.
Tied up with all these committees right now.
Well, I spoke to him last night, he's more than willing to work with us if we want.
On impact fees, or something else in general.
Almost anything to deal with numbers, if we want somebody to crunch some numbers for us and look at something that, like the impact fees or something else. He's more than willing to come
I'd
work with
like
us.
to suggest not approaching him into next month. We got a lot going on, we're doing a big transition of how we're doing our trustees.
Oh, and also, while we're on the topic of next month, next meeting this month is going to be a big one with the joint meeting with Concom. I'm going to get that posted next week. And if any of you have any questions on the handout from Conservation Commission, the proposal for the new Wetlands Conservation District, you can probably forward those to me. That way I can start compiling questions, comments, and then we can all go through that more efficiently this year. I know last year we were here for a few hours. I think we were here for about 3 hours discussing those changes. This is a bigger document, so I'm expecting a long meeting. So just come prepared, come refreshed, do whatever you need to do to prepare for a long meeting.
Yeah, do your homework. Read those things over, or put suggestions down on there, or whatever.
And conditional use permitting is a big part of that.
Oh,
Oh, that's confusing.
Have you looked at it? You need to get it from
Oh, I got you. Yeah, I'll send it over.
because it's more like comprehensive.
It's very confusing.
If you want to come into town hall, like next week, we'll do it.
Can't get a public do it, just get it. Yeah, so I'm pretty lost when it comes to that one, but
No, I got you.
there's a lot to it.
Oh, there is. I'm still going through that.
That's all I got.
So unrelated to anything here, and I just forgot, what is going in on Safford next to the fairgrounds?
Next to the.
Contractor base, right?
No, that's on the other side of the street, this is on the same side.
Talking down there, Wilson Pond, by the.
No, up by the fairground, I want to know too.
It's,
It's the recycling, isn't the,
no, rare
I thought-
earth is down
I
there.
by
thought
the
it was some kind of
fairground
contract.
entry off
I don't know
the,
anything up on that.
It's either part of the fairgrounds or it borders the
I
fairgrounds.
don't know. That's not where Gridiron is.
You mean behind the swimming pool place?
It's-
On the other side.
On the other side.
You're talking about where the driveway goes into the
So you have
park?
the antique place,
It's right
you go
there.
back, back and they cleared that land there.
I think that's the fair
I thought
association.
it was the fairgrounds, I don't remember.
What is over there? Cause I was just there, trees and stuff they cut down, all the trees.
They cleared that land.
They clear cut all that. I think they're doing it for more camping, for more room.
The music shows.
You see that? Yeah, I
Because
think
it's very-
they're opening it up more.
A number of people have asked me.
I think they're opening it
I'm
up.
not sure it's coming through the board, but
I'll check for an intent to cut on if they're cutting down a bunch of stuff.
at one point they had, I mean, they just turned that ground over, there was rocks in there that big, I wanted to just take my truck there and load them up, I
Right.
rocks.
Do we know what's going on?
Like rocks?
On,
I do, you know, a place like
Base Hill Road, what they've done is they cleared off a little corner there, and they got a 30-foot pile filled in.
Oh,
Some of it's dirty.
I happily let Chris handle all of it. Very happily.
Said it to Chris, guy, what's this?
Yeah, luckily if you ask Chris what's going on, he'll usually take a look at it the same day.
First I thought they were starting a project,
Yeah,
but it's not that, you can't.
I'm not sure.
Well, today when I went by, they had an excavator there filling up dump trucks.
Yeah, I happily let Chris handle all of that.
Oh, of course, you can't do everything. I was gonna stop in today, but he wasn't in his office.
No, I wouldn't.
Now, what, besides compound next meeting, what else you have?
For next week,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, let me see, is there any other business, anybody wants to discuss any other business? If not, a motion to adjourn by Mark, stands, and seconded by James, is there any further discussion? All in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed?
Business for you, though. Which one's the menu tomorrow night?
It's posted. Did you see it? Big, huge menu for the weekend.
No.
Sue, did you get all 4 conversations?